If you had the ability or power to go outside of or beyond the 3D world our human bodies are stuck in while living on Earth, then you could perceive time or the series of points that are lined up to form a timeline of points in time for all the points of time in our life timeline that is seen when stuck inside the 3D dimensions in a linear order or series of points in time lined up in a single linear order of time. However, outside or beyond 3D, you could perceive points of time in any order or skip from one point of time in your life to another point of time in your life that isn't next to the first point of time in your lifetime, in a linear order of series of points lined up in a timeline of events. For instance, a point of time in 2023, then jump to a point of time in 2020. As an example, like skipping through pages in a book and reading a book out of order instead of reading through each page in a book in order, from the first to last page numerically. The character in the book would be stuck in 3D. You, as a reader who is outside of the 3D book, have the ability to skip to or go to any point of time or page in that book in any order you would like, as opposed to limited to one linear order of pages lined up numerically in order of the beginning point in a story, such as the character's life story or your life story, to the ending point of a story in a book by finishing the story on the last page as the ending point of the story. You can skip or go to whatever point or page in time of the story or book. For example, page 33 to page 14 to page 211, then page 212, then skip to page 1, right? This would be like skipping to different points of time in the character's life, or perhaps your life, by any order or in any order you'd like. You can go to a point of time in your life or the character's life as a kid and skip to a point of time as an adult while skipping over the entire time as a teenager. Then skip back to a different point of time in your life or go to the next point of time in your lifeline or the character's lifeline by reading pages of a book in any order. The author or whoever created the book would be like a god, or what we consider to be like a god, Godzi, or the goddesses or goddess who created that book. You, as a reader, form a version of a parallel universe or of the universe or perception of that book. The way you, as a reader, perceive a story or book differs from the next reader or different person who also read the same book as you. Therefore, the way they perceive a book or a story read is different or would be a parallel universe version of your perception of the same story or book that would be like this universe that you're in right now. Therefore, each reader of the same book, or therefore each reader of perception of a book or a story read would resemble parallel universes or multiverses of this universe, or your perception of the universe or of the same book or story that you read and that everyone else read for the same book or story created by the author or publishers or the goddesses or godsies or gods, right? If a person has multiple lifetimes, or if reincarnation occurs, then this would resemble the additional book or books, life or lives, in a series of lifetimes of an individual's journey or entire story of all of the character's lifetimes that character has ever lived. For example, a series of 5 books equals 5 lifetimes of a character in a book who has lived 5 lifetimes here on Earth, for example. You, as a reader of the entire series, would be this universe the character lived in for all 5 of their lifetimes here on Earth. A different person who read the same 5 books or series of 5 books that you read would be the 5 lifetimes of the character in a parallel universe as opposed to this universe, or the character's 5 lifetimes lived in a parallel universe, right, by the other reader. For each reader who reads the same 5-book series of a character in the story who's lived 5 lifetimes for the character's storyline in each of the 5 books or lives in a series. There is an added parallel universe or multiverse of the character's 5 lives in a different or parallel universe of all their lives as perceived by the reader or each additional reader of this 5-book series. So the story of a character in a book throughout all their lifetimes lived in one's universe equals one reader's perception of all 5 books or stories of each life or book read in the entire series. So all 5 lifetimes of a character in a book. Therefore, a reader's perception of a character's life story for all 5 books in a series of all the characters' lifetimes in this universe is one reader's perception of a series read. A second person who reads the same series of 5 books of all 5 lifetimes or lives a character lives in the book series or universe is an additional perspective of all the characters' lifetimes lived in an additional parallel universe. Therefore, the same book series of 5 books read by 20 different people is like 20 parallel universes of a character's 5 lifetimes lived in each multiverse, or all 5 lifetimes of a character's life stories in all 5 books of a series in a universe for each one of the 20 multiverses, or perceptions of the 20 readers who read the same series of a character's lifetimes, or all of their 5 lifetime stories in a series of 5 books. An additional dimension is added when the same reader reads a 5-book series at 2 different times in the reader's life. For example, someone who reads a 5-book series when they're a kid and then they read it later on again when they're an adult would result in 2 different perceptions of the same 5-book series by one reader as an adult and as a kid. This could theoretically be the twist of the 4th dimension into or overlapping with the 5th dimension as being multiple perspectives of the same reader who read the same 5-book series at 2 different times in their lifetimes, therefore making the same reader's perspective of reading a 5-book series differ for each time the same reader reads a 5-book series, again, at different points in the reader's life, which equates to being like a universe within a universe, since now we are in both the character in the book as well as the reader's lifetimes in the story, or the reader's point in their life when they are reading the series, right? So there would be the point of time in a reader's lifetime for reading a 5-book series at different points in the reader's lifetime, as well as the point of time in a character's story or storyline in the character's life story in a book for each life story or lifetime of the character in the book series throughout all of the character's lifetimes, or 5 lives in a single multiverse of a 5-book series read each time. Now, either by the same reader at a different point in the reader's lifetime, or by a different reader or person who also read the 5-book series, either at the same time or at a different time of the first reader. So there you go. And then, of course, I just thought also as well, like, who's to assume that all 5 lifetimes has to be lived in one universe? Therefore, you twist the dimensions even farther by, maybe living one life in this universe, another in a parallel, and then the third life in this universe, and, going back and forth. So who's to say that all the lives lived has to be linear as well in one universe? So that's an added point that I forgot to mention as well in here. So have a dandy, snazzy one. Piece of the poop.